Hello, and it's time for another VIP, very important precognitive, and I'm just over the moon to talk to this beautiful lady. She's called Elizabeth Boisson, and she is the co-founder of Helping Parents Heal, an amazing organization she's going to tell you all about. But she's much more than that. She's a vast dreamer in every sense of the word. Her vision is so expansive. I'm going to ask her to tell you though about herself because I will just go on and on, filled with praise. And she's also quite humble, so I know she wouldn't like that. So Elizabeth, over to you. Please, could you tell me about you and your work, please?
I would love to. And thank you so much for having me on here today. This is just a true honor. I first of all want to say that I am a huge dreamer, and I feel very fortunate that the things that have made my life difficult have actually opened my mind up. And one of those things that has happened to me because of the hardships in my life is that I received dream visits. And knowing you better and understanding a little bit more about those dream visits, especially what it looks
Oh my
like,
God.
are just so wonderful. And especially not just for me, but for all of the parents of Helping Parents Heal is so useful. But let me tell you just a little bit about myself. My daughter, Chelsea, passed when she was 2 days old. When we were living in France, I'd been in the hospital for 6 months on an IV. And unfortunately, she didn't make it when she was born. She did live for 2 days. And the thing that saved me was that I had been separated from Morgan, from my son Morgan, for 2 months in the hospital. And getting home to him was just so wonderful, being able to be with him again. And in the meantime, after that, I had two beautiful daughters. So there were three of us, Morgan and his two sisters. And Morgan left on an exchange program to go to the base camp of Mount Everest in Tibet. And this was in 2009. He was with 13 other students, and they went up from Lhasa to the base camp of Mount Everest too quickly. He suffered from altitude sickness, and unfortunately, he passed. But before this happened, something truly amazing happened to me, and I believe to Morgan as well. And that is that um, he was having trouble breathing, and they were getting him down the mountain. And one of his roommates called me. Actually, I'd been trying to call them, and finally it went through. And his roommate named Colin said to me, Miss Boisson, I don't think that we're going to be able to save him. He's undergoing CPR and he's not breathing right now. So I immediately told Colin to put the phone up to Morgan's ear. And I told him that we loved him, that we were proud of him, and not to be afraid. And I had now I know what it was, a shared death experience with Morgan. He hugged me so strongly from the other side. And again, people say that it was because Chelsea was already over there. She grabbed his hand and led him to me. So I felt that hug so strongly here in Cave Creek, Arizona, and he was in Tibet, obviously. But that set me on a path to try to understand if other parents were having the same experiences as I was. And it led to creating Helping Parents Heal because I didn't see any other support groups that were talking about the connection that we have with our kids and the communication that we have with our kids, including dream visits from them. Um, and so I would say about a month later, Helping Parents Heal was formed.
And it's a real force helping parents heal, isn't it? I mean, I'm always blown away by the level of love, first of all, and joy. Given that you are bereaved parents, it's not what you'd expect. Because when you first got in touch, I was kind of like, I didn't know what I would encounter. And I just met all these smiley faces online, and it was like the joy, and I got it completely. And I absolutely love that message that you're giving out and the hope and healing and comfort you bring, and long may it continue. And I shout from the rooftops about you whenever I can. Um, but where's Helping Hand Parents Heal Now? Heal Now. What's your mission for the years ahead? What's your vision?
Well, we just got done with a conference, and the conference had 900 participants and 44 presenters, and this was in Phoenix. We have 160 groups throughout the world. We're located in the United States and Canada, in Brazil, in the UK, in Europe as well, in different areas of Europe, but South Africa, India, and Australia, New Zealand. So it's wonderful to be able to have so much representation all over the world. And we have caring listeners who speak 11 different languages, and they're all volunteers. And they're parents just like us who have gone down the healing path just a little bit further, and to reach a hand back to others to help them forward. Everything is free of charge. All of our resources are free of charge. And so it makes me happy to know that we can help someone who speaks Mandarin Chinese, for instance, or we can help someone who speaks Romanian, or we can, and this is something that parents do every day, all day, helping other parents, and helping others helps us even more than it helps the person that we're helping usually. So, um,
I love that you're going for global domination, as you should. I love it. But I mean, in my travels, obviously, I interview a lot of people in this movement, and I would say in about 9 out of 10 cases now, when I mention you, they know you. And
oh,
I love that. I love that. It's like a connecting force. We're always going back to Elizabeth. But you're also an author. Would you mind telling, because that is one of the required reading for the course that I've recommended, not required, recommended reading for everyone on this course.
oh, uh, our book, is this the one that, or
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah, yeah,
dream? I'm sorry. The life to afterlife. That's
yeah.
very kind of you. Thank you. And I feel very, it's a very big part of my life, obviously, but the really important thing about this book is that it isn't me. It isn't just Morgan. It isn't just Chelsea. We have 20 parents who have gone through the healing process and who have come out the other end. And it also has tips to be able to heal from the passing of a child. And it is completely non-dogmatic. And I just want to say that I got a very big surprise the other day, because I got an email from a Christian list of the best grief books for 2022. And there are 12 books on there, 3 that deal with the passing of a child. And they chose our book, which again is completely non-dogmatic and talks about the afterlife, as one of those books that's on the list. So I feel that there's kind of a shift happening, and it's very exciting to me to think that, of course, there are people who wrote about their journey who are Christian, who consider themselves to be Christian, but we also have people in the book who are atheist. We have people in the book who are Hindu. We have people from all different religions. So to have it be listed on this list is a big deal for us. And anyway, I must say that knowing you and being able to talk to parents about dreams um, and about what they can aspire to, because it's not always going to happen immediately, but what
No.
they live with their children, if the conditions are right. And there are a lot of different things that have to happen to be able to have that perfect dream visit. And if it's okay, I would love to tell you about a dream visit that I had recently with Morgan. And I've only had 2, so this was a big deal. I
I
had
would
one.
love to know. Thank you.
Well, thank you. One was right after he passed, and it happened in Jamaica. And Jamaica was the last place we'd gone on vacation as a family. And then we went to France, but that was our home after that, before we went to China. But I was walking through a marketplace. I saw Morgan's huge back. He's 6'6". And so I saw him standing looking at something, and I whipped him around, and he gave me the biggest bear hug, just like he always does. And it was just amazing. And that was just such a wonderful feeling because I truly felt like I was with Morgan. And then I didn't really have any other dream visits, although I'm always open for them, but I always feel like I spend time with both Morgan and Chelsea on the other side, and I don't necessarily remember it. This time I remembered it, and it was on January 31st, and I I was in a dream where there was this really high wall, about 6 feet, and Morgan was on top of it. And he had changed. Oh my gosh, he looked like a god. He had this light glowing around him, and he had a long beard, long hair, and he was standing lined up with what looked like his football team from high school. And there were two lines of all these young men. Actually, they were older though, obviously, and they were all standing ready. And I was so emotional from seeing Morgan looking almost, as I say, like a god, and this 6 foot wall. So I looked up to him and I said, "Can you help me up?" And he immediately picked me up, and I was standing right beside him. And then I was still overwhelmed. He just looked so wise and so um, much older than he did before. And so I asked him, "Is it okay if I give you a hug?" And he just wrapped me in this enormous bear hug, just like
Angel
he.
hug.
And when
Yeah.
he did that, I realized that, first of all, it's the same Morgan, even if he has evolved. Second of all, I realized he was standing there with all these kids at the ready to help all of us learn how to communicate with our kids in spirit. So it was this big team effort that they were making to be able to help us to understand them, just as we are they're wanting to be able to communicate with us. I mean, it's something that's a two-way street, and I got this amazing image of this. In fact, you talk about walls in your book, and I just wanted, I mean, I thought it was so interesting because I looked it up after, and it's just so easy to use, by the way. It's so a wall is, to see a wall in your dream signifies protection, which I thought was really interesting. Limitations, obstacles, and boundaries. But then at the end, it says, according to dream lore, if you find a gateway through the wall, this is a sign of good fortune. So
Oh, I'm so glad I wrote that. And
I take that as getting up on the wall and being with Morgan as good fortune, and I actually told all of the people in our group about this dream because I feel that it is kind of a harbinger of things to come, that we are going to be able to communicate more and more with our kids, which
I
is so
love
important.
that because obviously this is precognitive dreaming, and people always think that's the future. But there is a school of thought now which believes that all psychic and afterlife experiences are a form of precognition as well as sensing of a future. And this is very much what this dream is like. It's like your future relationship growing and growing with your son in spirit. I absolutely adore this. This is
Well, it was wonderful. And I just want to remind everyone, especially in my group, that your children don't have to come to you with long beards and hair. I think this was specifically for me because they do come to us exactly the same way that they are,
yeah.
that they were here on Earth. I think that Morgan wanted to show me that he's doing really important work, and that's the reason that I saw him this way, which was very exciting.
So fascinating about the passage of time there as well, and showing how, kind of like the evolution that's going to happen, and that you've got a lot of work here yet to do, Elizabeth, as I hope you do. And what do you think about Rupert Sheldrake? I was got this quote: "When we die, we continue to dream." but because we are dead, we can't wake up. What I'd love your thoughts on that, having researched this area.
Well, I believe that it's true that we can't wake up, but I think that it's a wonderful thing not to be able to wake up. Um, I think that once we get over there, we're in a place that everyone aspires to be. And of course, we have a lot of work to get there. I mean, it's not something that I wish for anyone to transition early, but um, I do believe that it's important for for us once we're over there to take advantage as much as possible of being in this incredible place where, from what I understand, they can help us so much here on earth. And I think that we're depending on that right now, especially in this very difficult time. So
Mm, mm.
knowing, yes, we can't wake up, but I don't think that that's a problem. I think that we will still be dreaming once we're over there, but
But
life is
every
going to
night is a kind of like a mini death anyway, isn't it? That we go to this alternate place, which some believe is the afterlife, and I'm increasingly believing that it is, and that we connect to our soul in a symbolic, metaphorical way, the afterlife. Of course, there's only one way we'll find out, but that's a long time away. But in the meantime, it's a source of incredible inspiration and comfort, because I know from the letters I get and the messages over the years that when people have had an afterlife dream, it's incredibly healing, isn't it?
oh, of
It's
course.
not like you wake up and think, "Oh shucks, I wish I could go back to the dream," or "I wish, that it was real." They don't wake up with a sense of loss, but a sense of gain, that this relationship in spirit has been confirmed, which sometimes we all need, when we're asleep.
Well, I think that you're right. And I think it's interesting that you say that because the shared death experience that I had with Morgan, which is similar to a near death experience, I never in that experience felt that I was going to stay there, but because of it, I have so much faith and so much belief that first of all, that our loved ones in spirit are always with us, that they always will be, that love never dies, that yes, we can visit them whenever we want to. They are always able to visit us as well, but we can visit them in our dreams. Um, we can do moving meditations, and obviously that could be sitting cross-legged on the bed, but it could also be hiking out in nature. For some people, it's simply mopping the floor, doing something repetitive
Mm.
to be able to be in touch with our loved ones in spirit. And um, I I feel so much gratitude every single day. And I actually feel a ringing in my ears right now, which always is a sign that um, Morgan, Chelsea, and then a lot of other kiddos are very close at hand, which is wonderful. And I feel very grateful too about this journey because I've been able to meet people like you who have been studying this for quite some time, who are able to tell us even more about and validate the things that we are already going through, and let us know that we're not crazy. I mean, it's interesting because this shared death experience, Dr. Raymond Moody started speaking about it at exactly the same time. It was the same day. There was a podcast that came out that Morgan transitioned at the base camp of Mount Everest. So it's not a very recent thing. I mean, it's not a very, excuse me, it's a very recent thing for people to start talking about shared death experiences. Even near death experiences is fairly recent as well. So all of this knowledge is just so exciting as we move
It,
forward.
It is an exciting time to be alive and to dream. Elizabeth, I can't thank you enough for your precious time. I wish we had much more time to talk. I could talk to you forever. Thank you. And thank you also for reminding us that love, like precognition, transcends the dimensions of time, space, life, and death. And that's what you're all about. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you. It was wonderful to spend time with you, Theresa, and have a wonderful rest of the day.